Leaving a narcissist is nothing like a typical divorce. If you've spent years doubting yourself, how can you expect judges, attorneys, or even your friends to truly understand what happened? In this episode, we sit down with Claire, who shares what it's really like to civilly divorce a narcissist as a Catholic, and the single most important thing that you need to do if you've discerned this is the right path for you. Note, to protect Claire's identity, we have changed her voice and her name in this episode. So let's chat about how it is to navigate divorce with a narcissistic ex-spouse. What can you expect? What's it really going to be like? Claire, can you share some insight? What's your experience with that?
The only thing you can really expect in a relationship with a narcissist is the unexpected. For me, that truth unfolded over nearly 2 decades of marriage. I was married for almost 18 years. Our courtship was brief, too brief. We met through a mutual acquaintance, and because it was long distance, I told myself I needed a commitment before moving to another state. That urgency became an advantage for my ex, who was eager to move things along quickly. A week before our wedding, I was overwhelmed with anxiety. He had already shown some concerning behaviors, but I felt trapped. With family and friends flying in, I didn't know if I was just experiencing normal pre-wedding nerves or if my gut was warning me of something much darker. Everyone reassured me that anxiety was normal, so I pushed the feelings down. We married, and within a year I was pregnant. Life became a whirlwind. Looking back, I realize I spent those early years in a fog. A haze of manipulation and subtle control. It wasn't one dramatic incident after another, it was death by 1,000 cuts, tiny things that added up over time until I barely recognized myself. It wasn't until my son was nearly a teenager that the fog began to lift. Suddenly, I couldn't ignore the reality any longer. That's when I decided to leave. Ironically, that's when things got even scarier. Leaving a narcissist is not like a typical divorce. Even when the fog lifts, you may think, finally, I see reality. Now I can share it with others. But the painful truth is that if you've spent years doubting yourself, how can you expect judges, attorneys, or even well-meaning friends to understand what really happened? That's why the first piece of advice I give anyone leaving a narcissist is this: find a support system that believes you, because you will feel isolated and alone, and you will need people around you to remind you that you're not crazy. For me, the decision to divorce came down to my son's safety. Honestly, if I hadn't had children, I don't know if I would have found the courage to go through with it. The process was that hard, but once you step into mama bear mode, everything changes. Still, divorce is not automatically the safest option for everyone. In some cases, staying put until you have a solid plan may actually protect your children more. For example, with 50-50th custody, your kids may end up spending half their time without your protection. Every situation is unique and requires careful discernment.
Oh, I'm just like nodding my head. Obviously, you can't see, there's no camera here, but everything you're saying, I couldn't agree with more. I also love how you shared how leading up to the marriage, you had a lot of anxiety that you kind of shoved down. It's like your gut, your intuition knew that something was wrong. And that continued throughout the relationship until there's that breaking point where you can't ignore the facts anymore. I always say that breaking point is like an act of grace where God just wakes us up. Yeah, he wakes us up and he's like, okay, you're not going to be enduring this anymore. Like, enough is enough. And that's a really common thing, I think, for anyone who's endured this type of relationship with narcissistic people. And then I love how you shared when you go through a divorce, that's already very difficult and it's going to be probably high conflict. But when you go with a divorce with a narcissistic person, expect what you had in the relationship to be cranked up to like a 20 out of 10. Like, you are just dealing with someone that wants to weaponize the law in every single way against you in order to perpetuate their abuse, their power, their control, their financial manipulation, everything. So don't think because you're getting a divorce that they're going to play nice and play fair. They're going to be street fighters. They're dirty. They're nasty. They're going to weaponize the lawyers against you. And you're going to be walking into a living hell. And I hate to say that, but this is why I think it's important to discern whether or not you actually need to get a divorce. And if you do, and you feel that the Lord is calling you to do that, don't be afraid, because he's going to pave the way, but it is going to be difficult.
Totally, and one thing that will help, both for your own sanity and for the legal system, is documentation. Preparation is so key. As soon as my ex left the house, I started building a timeline of everything: incidents, behaviors, emails, and events that revealed the pattern of abuse. I used Dropbox to organize everything. For each incident, I'd note the date, a brief description, and then hyperlink the evidence, such as an email. That way, whenever I had to switch attorneys, which happened several times, I could share the entire organized file quickly. It saved thousands in legal fees and kept me grounded amid the chaos.
Yeah, I totally agree. Preparation is key. And I like what you said, how it's not the same for each person. I know people that they were able to conclude a divorce or litigation within a year, and other people where it's taken 10 years. And it's depends on your state, depends on your country, depends the circumstances, your finances, children. There's so many moving factors that are involved with it. But in this episode, we just want to really focus on like high level overview. What can you kind of expect if you're dealing with someone who is very contentious and narcissistic in a legal perspective? So as we wrap up this question, Claire, can you share with us like the single biggest piece of advice you'd give to someone if they're just at the beginning and they're starting to navigate a divorce with a narcissistic person? What would you want them to know?
If you are divorcing a narcissist, know this: you are not crazy, and you are not alone. The fog will lift, and when it does, surround yourself with community, document everything, and keep discerning each step with wisdom. Your story matters, and your safety and your children's safety is worth protecting. And careful discernment is step one. You have to really discern with God and your support team if this is the step you are actually being called to take, because it will not be a walk in the park. Divorce is incredibly hard, but like I said earlier, divorcing a narcissist is next level because you have to plan for your physical, psychological, emotional, and financial safety for you and your children. The documentation and making a plan is the most important thing at the beginning. A resource that was invaluable for me was One Mom's Battle, founded by Tina Swithin. She has incredible tools and training, some free, some paid, that equip you to navigate custody battles with a narcissist. Her method of keeping a detailed, hyperlink-driven timeline was a game changer.
I couldn't agree with you more. And stay organized. Use something like Google Drive or some sort of filing system. I would say back it up and absolutely keep things so organized, because you're going to be drowning in paperwork. But it starts with the documentation. In the next episode, we discuss how to pick a lawyer. Click the link on the screen to watch that video now.